All right, good morning. Incredibly disappointed in losing the game against a really excellent team in Tennessee. Having an opportunity to go back and watch it, parts of the game that were really good, defensive performance for the most part, and the kicking game. I thought we outplayed them in the kicking game and won the hitting yardage, about 49, 50 yards. And then nothing impacts the game more than turnovers. Since a year ago, 23 at the beginning of that season, we're 11-0 when we win the turnover margin, and 2-3 in those games in which we didn't win it. And we were outscored 10-0 in the turnover or points off of turnover. So we had initially we had started out in the first quarter. We were moving the ball, certainly not explosively, but moving it. And I had an opportunity there on 4th and 2. Had a guy that was open, and they did a nice job of popping the ball out. And then we come back, and we had some opportunities there. We had a nice drive after the interception, in plus territory, and we have an opportunity the very next drive to move the ball down the field, a 10-play drive, and we had to settle for a field goal there on 4th and 1, and make it knotted up at 3-3. The turnovers and where they were at were really a real issue, obviously, and sometimes you can overcome those, and then when you get the ball either in plus territory or right there at midfield, and you can't capitalize, and not only you not capitalize, but you turn the ball right back over. Again, that's a recipe to lose. But all that being said, I think the fire of the guys, the way the defense was playing, and the way Luke was punting the ball, our coverage units were covering as well. And again, a little bit of the return game, we were able to control the field position pretty well despite losing that battle. Decided to make a change at the end of the half. We're not in any kind of a rhythm offensively, and again, I just didn't feel like we were making good decisions within the scheme, and certainly there's lots of issues, for lack of a better word, and but making good decisions and putting us in a good position is part of everyone's job, and felt that maybe Mike could come in and spark us, and coming out of halftime, give him a little bit of playing time going into half, and then coming out of halftime. Did some good things late in the fourth quarter as he got settled in, and proud of the fight. Had a 10 and a 9-play drive there, late in the game, and gave us a chance there late, but we got to get better. And I know, again, that everybody knows that we're not playing very well right now on offense, and we've got to do a good job of putting our players in position. It's us, it's we, it's ours, and it's no finger pointing. We got to do a better job. It always starts with us as coaches, of coaching the details, of coaching the communication, making sure that we're putting them in a position where we can effectively communicate, effectively execute, and that's kind of a basic expectation, and we've been incredibly inconsistent that way. So there ain't nobody throwing anybody away. From a player standpoint, we've got to get guys better, and we got to develop them. And again, like I said, we've got to do a great job of putting them in a successful position. Then we got to execute within there too. And I always look at us first. Why are we not? And sometimes again, there's some real opportunities there. We're not making the right decisions consistently, and that it's hard to get into a good rhythm. It's hard to have confidence when you're not doing some of the things that you need to do from a decision making within the game. And so maybe this will give us a better chance, moving forward. Leaving Mike made that announcement for lots of reasons. Certainly didn't want a decision like that to hang over anyone's head, and we got to get better. And and sometimes maybe change is good. And as I expressed to Jackson, this is a moment. Jackson's going to have an amazing future and career. He's going to play this game a long time, and all of that will work itself out in due time. And that might be pulling the trigger even on Saturday night. We know how the game of football is sometimes. So he's got to stay ready, and he understands where he has fallen short in his responsibility. But anything that he puts on tape, to me starts with us, as a coaching staff. And so you're either coaching it, or you're allowing it. So we got to get better there, and think that maybe Mike will come in and he's a very talented guy, not a really experienced guy, but he has certainly shown that he's got the right stuff to do it at different times since he's been here. As I said, we had plenty of opportunity. We went blow for blow, with Tennessee. I felt in some ways encouraged, because it was a strong test, and although we fell short in the bottom line, it was a results-driven profession. Certainly I recognize that, but there's no doubt that we gave ourselves a chance, to not only compete but to win the game. And we needed some stuff to go right for us in the second half, and not enough things did. And you learn from it. And just like I told Jackson, man, that's a bad moment, that's a bad night, that's not a bad career. And so stay out of the gutter, and focus on getting better, and that's all of us. So the field position part of the game, not being able to score, we've been really good. We were tops in the country in the red zone, and certainly we didn't perform well there offensively. And really, again, you can't get down there and not score. That's a huge part of the game, an opportunity to tie the thing up at 10-10, and that's not all on just the quarterback either. And the +1 run game is very effective in college in our conference. You'll see Ole Miss or Missouri. Missouri's #1 in the country in red zone offense last year, and that's a big part of who they are. Certainly, Ole Miss, one of the best offenses in all of college football, executing at a really high level, doing the same thing. What we got to do is target the right people, stay on blocks, not let people that shouldn't make plays or pop the ball out be a part of, causing the turnover. And so we got to be better. No confusion, just getting whooped or not doing the things fundamentally that we need to do to go execute the basics at a consistent level. And as I tell everybody, defensively, I don't draw up any scheme defensively where I expect somebody to have to whoop somebody, whoop a blocker and make the play. If that happens, fantastic. Do we teach you how to do that? Yes, we do. But I expect if there's one blocker, there's two gaps. There's a gap outside of the blocker, there's a gap inside of the blocker. Our job as a staff is to have two defenders ready to defend that play. If that's a perimeter screen, if that's an isolation play, if that's a counter play, if that's a quarterback draw, that's our responsibility. And the flip side, on the offensive side, it's the same thing. Having hats for hats, the first play of the game, we got a bad snap. Javonte thinks the ball goes over his head. It's a bad snap. We got the thing hatted up. You got a split offensive concept where you have, half the defense has to move this way. We got half the defense has to be over here, and we got them outnumbered. If we're able to have a clean snap, a clean handoff, we're going to be up to the safety. And so that's what you want, from an offensive standpoint. But everything seems to be a little bit hard right now, and not much margin for error when you're playing really good people, and it's only going to get more and more challenging. So we got to get better at the basics. I hate saying that nonstop, and the basics will promote you and help you win a game when you do the little things right over and over and over, like stay off the ground and tackle the guy with the ball, and you got to play physical. You got to move people. I thought early in the game, first quarter in particular, we were doing some. We played in a really good physical way offensively, and so there's some encouraging things there. But we can't have the issues that are keeping us from having any kind of continuity, and it's a little bit of everybody. And so we gotta get into a rhythm. Not a better time to do that than this week. Going on the road for the first time, maybe in some ways that'll be good. Our guys can focus in and galvanize. Going on the road, you've got to. Everything's a little bit different, and it's a different type of challenge, and I'm really excited about that. I know our players are as well. They recognize the challenge. They recognize what needs to take place from a getting better standpoint. But the safety, again, same thing. The basics. We get a false start when the ball's at the 4. Back it up to the 2. Don't love the play design whatsoever. That's not what we practiced, and that's what we called. We have some miscommunication, and we turn a guy free, and he tackles us, in the end zone. So that's what we get, and it will continue to happen if we don't do a better job. And just not good football right there. But same thing, Now we're backed up. Now we got a kick, and I thought Zach Schmidt was fantastic. We're kicking off from our 20, and next thing you know, they possess the ball at the -6 yard line. So that's another great example. Luke Elzinga averaged over 51 yards a punt in 7 punts. Did some really good things there. Again, Peyton Bowen had 30 yards returning, which doesn't sound like a lot, but Tennessee gave up 8 yards total in returns last year. So really did a fantastic job. And again, our coverage units, as I said, going against a really explosive special teams unit, they did a fantastic job, really answered the bell. Again, as I said at the beginning, I thought defensively there's a lot that you can build on. I love the energy, I love the focus. Probably most of all, outside of the discipline and the structure, I like the physicality that we played with, the hunger, the depth of players that played. Obviously, that side of the ball, we lost Kendall Dolby. Just my heart breaks for him. He'll be fine. He'll recover, and he'll continue to have an opportunity to play this game a long time. But he's a guy that I've been bragging on for several months for obvious reasons, and just hate that. That is a part of the game. You hate that for him. But he's going to have a surgery, I believe, here probably as soon as tomorrow. And then defensively, playing the depth of the players. Other than Kendall Dolby, we really haven't had a lot of issues from an injury standpoint, and so that shows with the depth of the guys. We played a lot of good players, young players rather, early in that game to try to counteract Tennessee's philosophy and playing fast and getting a lot of snaps. And so I thought that was a great strategy, on the defensive staff's part. And again, from top to bottom, I thought they continued we gave up a couple of big plays that you can't do in a game when there's not much margin for error. And we lost some leverage and coverage that, again, he's by himself. He's got a defender underneath that is going to give him a little body presence for the skinny and for the flat, but he's got to play post bomb all by himself. And so on that particular play, they did a nice job of beating us and executing at a really high level. But again, like I said, great frustration. Just certainly you don't let it carry over. You let it fuel you and drive you. But that's a game that, if we play a little cleaner, we have an opportunity to take it into the fourth quarter and have a chance to win against a really good team. And to me, if we just get incrementally better, don't turn the ball over, play physical, play with great effort, and everything else that has been good continues to get better. Again, like the defense, like our kicking game, we'll have a chance to be competitive and win every single game that's on our schedule. If we don't do those things, we'll continue to be frustrated and it won't be good. So, as I told the team yesterday, this is if we win the game, it's going to be because of all of us. Everybody plays a part in helping us win. And right now, again, the depth of experience and the depth chart of capable players, rest in really two areas, and that's on defense and the special teams. And and we know why we're where we're at. I don't need to promote that any more than it needs to be. That it already has, offensively, and that matters. But it ain't not an excuse. You got to get better, and so that starts with us as a staff. We got to be better, point blank, and then we got to execute. What's called, and so we got to be persistent, we got to be determined, but we got to stay together. That is the most important piece of that. And because again, as I said, the challenges are only going to become greater as we continue to play. It's all hard, and it's all good though. I don't shy away from that whatsoever. And I think it's just it's a great opportunity. That's how I look at it, and a great story of overcoming. That's to me ultimately how we're all defined, is what we're able to overcome. They've got a great opponent, and I say that great history and tradition in Auburn University. What Coach Freeze has been able to do throughout his career. Obviously, he's cut his teeth on really good offenses, and they've actually played really well other than turning the ball over. And a year ago, again, lifting up the cushion, so to speak, and looking at them from a year ago, they went to a bowl game in their first year and played several opponents right down to the last drive or so of the game, and rushed for just under 300 yards against the University of Georgia, and it's a one-score game all the way to the end, and had Alabama beat if it weren't for 4th and 35 or whatever it was a year ago. And again, I can imagine the frustration level watching them in their first couple of games. Lost to a scrappy Cal team, by a touchdown, and then last week losing to Arkansas, turning the ball over 5 times. Again, you're not going to win games if you're losing the turnover margin. As I said, when we've won the tournament, I think we're one of the best in college football in turnover margin. We're +7, which makes us first in the SEC and second in the country. We're first in the country in forcing turnovers. You're going to have a chance to win. When you can force turnovers and you can take care of the ball, and then you can play complementary football and you give them a layup, you got to score. Whether that's a touchdown or certainly field goal, the last thing you can do in those situations is turn the ball over. You have no chance to win when you're doing that. We've been pretty good this year, and that was a bad moment. And as I said, I think we're 16-2 since I've been here in games where we won, or 16-3 now, where we've won the margin over the last 3 years. So got a great challenge. Teams in it. Got great headspace. They recognize where we're at, and hopefully a little more continuity with guys up front is going to be a beneficial thing. It usually is. More time guys spend together, on the offensive line, and again, we did move Jacoby Johnson over, and Jacoby is a natural receiver. He played a lot more receiver growing up than he did defensive back. He's a fantastic DB. Is really coming on, and he's been an excellent special teams player for us. Plays with great effort, super physical, incredibly talented, and and certainly this wasn't a decision that we took lightly. Wanted to find out if what he thought of it first and foremost. He wants to help the team, and will there be an impact this week? I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a reach. Wasn't the mindset. The mindset was, how could we get better this season? A long season ahead of us. We got 8 more regular season games in front of us, and so they're playing both the short term and the long term with that type of decision. I say long term, I'm talking about this season, and we don't want to give him up. And he's a fantastic corner, and has a chance to get to play this game a long time at that position. But he's a natural, and he looked like a natural in some ways yesterday, and he's a smart guy, and he cares a lot, and those are always good ingredients to have success.
Take some questions. Please limit yourself to one per person in your family.
Brent talked about making sure there's no finger pointing. I want to ask you, that's such a mature defense on the field. Off the field, how much do you count on the maturity when it comes to playing complementary football? I know that they're carrying a lot of their weight. How much do you make sure there's no fractures and everything stays complementary, and you make sure that everything stays mature?
Yeah, you got to work at it every single day, just like you do your own family. You have relationships, and you nurture them, and you work through problems. And, no matter what, sometimes you don't like each other, but you always love each other. And it starts with that. I know maybe that's not, what people may or may not want to hear, but that's how you do it. You mesh people together, man. That's one of the funnest parts of coaching, is when you you nurture the brotherhood, the mutual respect, the mutual appreciation, the mutual love, and where you're pulling for each other, you're helping each other, you got each other's back, no matter what, good or bad. You always got there. It's like a non-negotiable. And I know I'm not naive. If you don't work it, if everybody doesn't play a part in, reinforcing that and being about it, not just talking about it, but we have to be about it. What you do speaks, louder than what you necessarily say. And so that part of it takes all of us, to create an environment that nurtures that. It's team. Team first. Everything should be team first. And getting our guys to buy into that hasn't been hard. And we've worked really hard in the moments of stress and the moments of consternation, if you will. That's when we've really worked hard at, hey, they need the help now, right now, this moment. So go do it. This is what it looks like. And so you work hard at that, and not to allow the fractures, and not to allow the finger pointing, because everybody on the outside will say, they'll say that's just how it is. They'll say we're successful in the defense, or the kicker stinks. The kicker stinks because he's got pressure because somebody didn't block somebody in the A gap. You know what I mean? Not that happened, but my point is everybody else wants to divide, and that's a recipe for disaster. And so this is when I think it. This is me personally, but this is when I think that we let our light shine. And this is when it'll reveal who we are, but it'll be for all the right things that are going on. And so there's a selflessness that's involved, and there's a respect for that's above any of us. A responsibility that we all have. Because that's what has made Oklahoma great for a long time, in my opinion.
Ryan Neighbor?
Yeah, Brent, you talked Saturday about evaluating things at the quarterback spot. What was it that you learned maybe over those 36 hours or whatever it was to make the decision, and how important was the timing element of it to have Michael Redding and talk to Jackson about it?
Yeah, like I said, within the game, the decision making was different at times. It was just what happened was we led to 3 turnovers, and where again things that can't happen, whether it's field position where it absolutely can't happen, or maybe where things weren't forced, and that's and then some of the other basic decision making where I know what the rules are, and we're not doing what the rules are, and that happens sometimes. And for us in that game, in that moment, just felt that I don't know if we can, quote unquote, recover from it in this particular moment, and didn't really want to have the tolerance. It was just getting away from us, and it was still 3-3. You might be able to tolerate it, and like I said, we had the first turnover. And we turn right around and we go down, on a 10-play, 55-yard drive. I wish we could have scored a touchdown there, but we were able to overcome, in that situation. But that played a big part of it. Field position, being in plus territory, right there at midfield, and then we turned it over on defense and then get it right back, and just giving it to them on another one, and then the conversation is like, I shared, I'm like, look at Danny Stutzman. If he's supposed to come off the edge and he doesn't, and now the quarterback breaks contain and runs 35 yards for a touchdown, and then he comes back the next drive and we don't cover the vertical, we're supposed to play him in vertical hook technique and carry the seam down the middle, and you don't do it, he doesn't do it, and they throw it for 50-yard touchdown, and then comes back and gives up another explosive play because he's just not doing what he's supposed to. His butt's coming out, and to me, it shouldn't. Again, there's a lot of other moving parts. Danny not executing would be on him. Just he didn't go run the blitz, or he's not in the A gap when he's supposed to. sometimes a quarterback, there's a lot of other moving parts that affect you too. And so I get that, try to weigh it all together. But he understood. He had a great mindset, no surprise. He's a tough guy. He takes responsibility, didn't make excuses. As we know, we've seen lots of different scenarios go down. Put your head down and get better. That's it. That's what you can control. And so he's doing that.
Yeah, Brent, sort of what you just talked about, making a change in the middle of the game. Now you've made one in the middle of the week in terms of the starting quarterback, but in the middle of the game, what are some of the non-specific issues with the quarterback that you have to factor in terms of making that decision?
Receivers running routes. Again, we on one of the RPO, receiver didn't run the right route up the field. The vertical part of the route is the part of the RPO. So he's blocking instead of running the route. Well, we look out there and there ain't nobody to throw it to. And so he pumps and the guy doesn't run the route, and so that happened. But we're supposed to just hand the ball off on that exact look. And for me, like I said, you try to don't give them too many options. How about that? You're supposed to blitz outside contain. You stay outside of everybody. If they put two tight ends over there, stay outside. If they got just a two-man surface, stay outside. You're outside. Not, well, if they do this, you can come under, but you got to get back out. So you don't do that. You don't give them too much autonomy. And especially young players that sometimes they'll swim a little more, their heads swim a little more than maybe a veteran player that you can give a little more autonomy in the right moment. So, but yes, it's protection. It's, run the right routes with the right depth, it's getting open, that's a thing too. Maybe it's not, nobody's open. So a lot goes into it. And, like we talked about a week ago in the Tulane game, the running back's supposed to block that B-gap backer. The running back took off running over there. And guess where the B-gap backer went? Right into the quarterback's face. And he broke the tackle. Now he's under pressure. And, next thing you know, it's a pick six. So that's the stuff. And I know so you're just writing a story. But and there's countless things like that can happen, as we all know.
Brent, you're going on the road for the first time in the SEC to a place that is really tough to play. You're going to start a true freshman at quarterback. How can you help to make it? It's not going to be easy on him, but maybe easier. Are there things that you can do to help him out that way?
Yeah, of course he hasn't been there, right? So I say that all the time. We as coaches got to be the headlights for our players. They've never been, a 2-year veteran yet. Mike hasn't. He hadn't played a whole bunch of college football. He hadn't been to that stadium. So try to paint the picture, an adequate picture, and then you bump in the crowd noise, and then tell him to focus on things that you can control. Try to get him. If he's a strong-minded guy, he'll do that. Think about the process. Think about managing things from the right way. Don't try to do too much and all those kind of things, and then let the players around you help you, and then the coaching staff help him as well. But you have to bear a heavy burden like a lot of guys, and so you try to coach him and prepare him in a week's period of time. But we've been talking about going to Auburn for several months, so if he's been paying attention, this isn't the first time he's hearing about it.
George.
Hey, Brent. Heard you last night talking about the RPO stuff. You told Barry about it too. I'm wondering, just from a coaching perspective, is there a way to simplify those type of plays, or is it one of those things that young guys just have to get more reps with RPOs? I guess. Yeah,
I think some guys are more natural. Sometimes it's the picture's so clear because the guy beat his guy. He got off press coverage, and he snapped it up. He snapped it off. And he's in a great position, and the picture's super clear, super fast. And then sometimes guys, their mouthpiece is in their way, and he can't get off, press coverage. And now everything is, we got the right coverage, but we don't got the right route. And then sometimes, I don't think complicated. We can uncomplicate it and tell them to hand the damn ball off. And you don't have to RPO to have a good play. And so, and we don't have, it's not like we have every play's an RPO, but Tennessee pretty much was. And, they're running it really well. And some of their issues, it all ain't the same. You'd like to say it is, but it's not all the same. So, but we can, I don't think that it's a complicated concept at all. There's, pre-snap anticipation. People were going to show you one thing pre-snap and change it post-snap, and try to get you, I like to do that on defense. I think that's a real thing. And, people are doing that a lot, and don't overcomplicate it on this side. And sometimes that's not happening. And sometimes we're just not executing, well enough. And sometimes you say, hey man, you should have done this last week. And you do 2 times you should have done this. And then sometimes a young player, they might say, okay, well the next game I'm gonna, no matter what. And it's like, well, that's not the time to do that. Actually, and then you start forcing things instead of letting it come naturally. So I just believe that in some ways, less is more. Don't give too much autonomy. Hey, do you want me to blitz the running back and stay outside of him, coach, or do you want me to come underneath him? Like, you should tell him. Sometimes you might say, hey, just beat him either way. We have you protected either way. And sometimes, no, you've got to come underneath him so the quarterback moves off the spot and he'll go right to the rush. Like, you need to be specific, you can't leave it to chance. I just don't think that's a good strategy.
On Jeff.
Brent, you said that physicality's been there at times, just not consistently crossed. Is that something that experience piece lacking that you need to experience?
Yes, it's practice. It's practice. It's confidence that comes from practice. By doing it right, there is, in your experience, you look at the defense, and I go back, and you like to say, oh, well, I know we were terrible coaches 2 years ago, we had terrible results, so you can't coach. And then 2 years later, it's better. And the number one ingredient to me is the confidence and the experience, the depth of knowledge that the players have, and so they can execute the plan, they can think ahead, they can anticipate. They understand where all their help is on coverage and in the run fit. They understand the strategy, trying to show them one thing and then do another. They get that. They don't get overwhelmed in all of those really fast type moments that the game's going to give you. And young guys a lot of times will get overwhelmed. Same thing, everything. I think the line of scrimmage is the hardest positions to play because everything happens so fast. There's not the margin for error. If you're a linebacker, you're off the line of scrimmage, give or take 5 yards, you can false step and still try to regain leverage. Maybe I guessed it was run, but it was pass. I have time to recover. When you're at the line of scrimmage and you step wrong, you say the wrong thing, everything happens so fast, everybody's on top of you right now. And so to answer your question, it's the experience, it's the availability, how long you've been practicing, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff adds up.
Left side, James.
Brent, you showed a lot of defense, and you showed a lot of players on defense against Tennessee, and a lot of guys played well. Coach Freeze has been playing some pretty good offense for a long time, 400 yards. I know they turned the ball over. Talk about that matchup.
Yeah,
that's a game.
They got excellent backs. They've got 3 starters back from a year ago up front. They've got really good, long, athletic, strong tight ends. They use tight ends. They use multiple backs. Hunter's a fantastic player, a really good football player. His play design is really good. I think it's elite. Their presentations, and they've got, a year ago they didn't have the receivers that they have now, and so they're trying to get into rhythm, and their RPO opportunities are there. They've hit several explosive plays that way. They have moved the ball. They've just, I bet you they're saying they can't get out of their own way sometimes, and again, nothing impacts a game like turnovers. And everybody wants somebody else to blame. Well, again, we got to take care of the ball. We got to make better decisions. All the things I just talked about. About what affected us the other night, and what we can and can't do. But they've got really good players. And then on defense, they're very similar to what we saw at Tennessee. They're big. They're strong. They got a great front. They've got guys in the back end that can cover. They're multiple. They're more multiple than what Tennessee was. They're very multiple. They're going to get in 4-man front structure, and then some 3-4 out of the same personnel, and aggressive. DJ Durkin does a great job. He did a great job at A&M, at Ole Miss, and the other stops leagues at Florida as well, and what have you. So good coach. They've done a good job. They've recruited well. They got big, strong, powerful guys, and then they're top 10 in the country in kicking game. They're really good. Punter, kicker, the coverage teams, our return guys are super, very similar. Maybe a little more depth to what they do, a little more consistency to even what we saw out of Tennessee this last week in the kicking game.
Brent, I understand Devon Mitchell should be a high school senior, but just sort of wondering, where's his development, his growth at this point, and just how's the tight end spot look this first year?
Well, Devon's doing really good. He's had a great first month of the season. When Devon got here, Devon will be the first to tell you it took him a little while to transition. And just a young kid. I've got kids we raised, I've been in a locker room for a long time, and so kind of know what this looks like. But having great focus wasn't something that he had in the spring when he first got here. And just timeliness, showing up with the right clothes on, being on time, turning in assignments, just all the stuff that a lot of young kids do when they go to college. Nothing malicious. Great young man, but he couldn't get out of his own way, and he's decided to lock in and focus here since school started. And he's been down on the scout team with us, and everything has been completely and totally different. I'm not surprised. A lot of young guys come in and they just they struggle with the structure. They struggle with having to be at a million places right on time, and whether it's again study hall or class or meals or weight workouts, turning your assignments in on time. Just making good decisions. You got 1,000 of them to make today, and every single one of them have consequences. And so, like I said, he was just on a lot of lists for a lot of little stuff, but with a lot of help and support, both from home and then him taking a good hard look at himself. He's done a really nice job, an excellent job. He's been a scout team player of the week, and so he may have an opportunity to be a part of what's going on, but for him, he'd be the first one to tell you, he's a non-factor all fall camp. He's a non-factor all summer. He's all non-factor in spring ball. He's a non-factor in winter conditioning, only because of all the things I'm talking about. Kind of kept him away from. He had no stamina, But like I said, he's flipped the switch. He's been getting after it. He's been accountable. And he's been a scout team player of the week, and just been a dude. The dude that. We know that he can be, and hopefully will continue to be.
Jesse.
Brent, you mentioned Jacoby making a move from DB to wide receiver. You also had DJ Graham make that same move a couple of years ago. What did you learn in that situation?
Well, again, DJ came to us and asked to do it, and we said we need him at corner. You're actually starting in a game last week at corner, and we don't have anybody else, and so they're not the same.
What did you maybe learn in terms of?
I didn't learn anything because I don't. DJ's a phenomenal athlete, and had he stayed just at one position his whole career, that might have probably helped him. But he's a fantastic athlete. Situations aren't really the same. I didn't have a whole lot of evaluation going on when that happened. Jacoby, he's incredibly eager to do it. Very natural. In his skill set, he learns well. He'll put the time in, the extra time that's required. He won't get disappointed if it doesn't happen yesterday. He's just being the consummate team guy, knowing that he still has a home on our side of the ball, at any point in time this year. And we felt, and just look at the roster. Okay, where do we definitively need some help? Again, we've lost a bunch of guys. Andrell hasn't ever come back, amongst others. And so we know the issues that we have there. And, He's 6'2", he's 210 pounds. He runs every bit of 4.4, if not faster. And he's been playing that way. Sometimes guys are really skilled, but because of maybe they haven't played as much, or maybe they're young, they just got here, you don't see that explosiveness or the assuredness, that top end speed. But Jacoby, again, a year ago, was our, one of our players of the year on special teams, and had our most special team snaps of anybody on our team last year. Played with incredible effort, and he's doing the same thing this year, and playing, in meaningful opportunities as a corner as well. And so he's a different level of maturity to help him transition. And we got to find ways to make it simple. He's a physical guy. He'll block. He knows how to use his hands. We've just been okay, with our perimeter, blocking. It's just, and again, you get that, sometimes when you, because the game happens really fast. And I know how we train and we practice how to attack block destruction on the perimeter. You just look at the first play at the Tennessee game. They try to throw it out here over on this sideline. They're Tennessee's offense against our defense. Y'all there? I know I was. I've seen like 7,000 plays here in the last, but I think that happened in the first play. And if you remember, in 2021, on the first play of the game against Texas, they throw a little screen right out there, and they housed it. And you got a freshman DB trying to set an edge that was unsure of himself, didn't set an edge, and he gone. Well, you saw out here the same freshman DB that's now a senior on that same play, him and the other defender, man, set an edge, and it was a tackle for loss right out the gate. And so I use that, to parlay into what you're asking. Jacoby's aggressive and he's physical and he knows what an offense is trying to do, just say on a perimeter screen, and what kind of leverage he needs to maintain. He's just using all of his defensive acumen. We study offenses more than we study defense. We talk offense more than we study defense in the defensive room. What they're thinking, what the weakness of the defense is, the way we should anticipate them attack us this way, and if we take that away, it's a wrap. So he'll have that mindset. We call the routes what they call it. We call them that. So he's going to be able to have this communication and conversation with the coach that should help, expedite his transition. And that's everything. If you can say it, you can play it. If you can't, you're like, okay, now what'd you say? You go into your notes and, yesterday what'd you say, coach? Or you actually remember it. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. I can talk to you like this. I don't need to refer to my notes. I know that, 3rd and 3, they're doing this and we're doing that. And this is how we're going to stop it. So I think he'll be able to bring some of that more so than maybe some of the other guys that are there right now as they learn and grow and get better. And just another body that can, he's an explosive guy that, like I said, has tremendous ball skills, and he's got great competitive toughness to him as well.
Go to your time to keep going a little bit.
All right, we got anything else?
Okay, keep on there. Tom, and
Brent, you and Zach were together at Clemson in 2016 when you guys played at Auburn. He recalled that there was a moment where you gave the signal and he called it the wrong play and you started yelling at him, but it wound up in an interception. Do you recall that exchange? What do you remember about coaching in that stadium as a big thing?
Oh, it's electric. They've got tremendous, tradition and pageantry. They'll be deep. They're hungry. Very much like what we saw here. Our fans were absolute. They were just amazing. And there'll be an environment like that. I do remember that moment. And sometimes you got to overcome your coaching. And things don't always have to be perfect. So good for him. Yeah, he put us in a great call. No surprise.
Brent, while the quarterback change is logical and understanding, it couldn't have been simple or easy. I can't imagine that. Jackson continues to make this an inordinate amount of mistakes you wouldn't expect, but my bet is he hadn't lost the ability to play quarterback. Unlike all these Valley quarterbacks who've come in before, he's struggling to get some opportunities. I mean, I don't need to tell you the lack of offensive direction and non-existent run game, the O-line problems, in space and all that. How does that factor into all of it? And I assume all that was part of the discussion with your quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everything that you just said goes into all of it, and a lot of it was things had not been easy through the first part of the season, and again, for not just because of him, he did plenty of really good things too. And so you evaluate a body of work, and there's every position you evaluate some ways the same and some not the same. And as you alluded to and I spoke about earlier, and certainly it wasn't easy, but within the game, and now it's 19-3 because of a lack of consistency, continuity, decision making, not just on his part, but he is a part. And then again, where those turnovers happen, and you get these small windows of opportunity, you get the ball at midfield or plus territory. I mean, you gotta taste blood, man. You gotta step on the throat, and you gotta make people pay for that. And those opportunities just don't keep happening. And so just weighed it all together and said, we need something different, and right now, and felt that maybe that could be, the answer. And so that's what happened there.
John Hoover.
Brent, can you, without giving any state secrets to Auburn or anything like that, can you describe the offensive game planning process during the week, how you lead up to the game, who's doing what, how much collaboration there is between position coaches and co-coordinators, and then what you like about that process and maybe what you want to see tweaked about that process?
Well, that's a long conversation, but it is everybody, and you use depth of experience, and then there's an evaluation for this is what we have, this is where we're at, this is what we do well, this is what we don't do well, this is what we need to do better. If one guy does this better, if we get a better snap, if we have, we eliminate some of the communication, let's just, again, if we're all wrong, we're all right. And so all of that goes into it. And then again, there's a philosophy on, running the ball, pushing the ball down the field, attacking the ball downhill in the run game, and you got to create explosive plays. And so how do you do that? You got to have some balance in your offense, your ability to be efficient running the ball, to create, some potential explosive plays. Who can beat one-on-one coverage? If they're playing this like this week, and we've got a good matchup, a friendly matchup, then let's go take, advantage of it. And so sometimes you have that, and sometimes you don't. So you evaluate personnel, you evaluate scheme, you evaluate how it relates to your opponent, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what we can't allow to happen in this game plan. And again, strategy 101 is to take away what they do best, and attack it. And so always easier said than done, I know, but that's got to be a thoughtful process. And so it is like I said, it's a collaboration. You work through it. Here's where we start on Monday, and then here's the different areas that we're working and emphasizing on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then on Thursday, so forth and so on. So really all the way up to game time, you're still dotting the I's and crossing the T's, I think, if you're doing your due diligence, as a coach. And so there's no way that could have satisfied what you're asking for, but 2.5 minute answer, that's that. I would, because I know there was somebody brought to my attention, there was a story that was written, just not that it really matters, but at the same time, at the end of the year, had a meeting after a few weeks at the end of the season where Dylan Gabriel came to visit with me. He wanted to have a meeting and let me know that he wasn't going to play in a bowl game. And so I already had caught wind and he knew some other guys were opting out on the offensive line and things like that. And I did not know that at that time that he wasn't going to go to the NFL. When we had a great conversation with him, disappointed that he wasn't going to go play in the bowl game. And with the circumstances with Coach Levy leaving, and thought he wanted to get closer to home, to Hawaii. And so I was like, I didn't know I had to fight this fight. I didn't realize that you were even considering coming back. And he says, yeah, but I just really want to, get closer to home. So that's, again, we hugged and shook hands, and, he was a little emotional, and I was, but it was all really good and positive. And make a guy stay. You guys trying to, find the next thing, the next chapter for him. I'm sure there was probably some disappointment that, that he wasn't more highly thought of in the NFL. Had an amazing year, and is a fantastic quarterback. And but with nobody running nobody off or things like that, So always, the veterans are good. I think I've always said that the experienced player can do a little more than sometimes the young guys, but that's neither here nor there. But I did want to make sure you cleared that up.
Yeah, it's good. Cliff Brent in the third row.
Yeah, Coach, you just talked about an experienced player at the quarterback position. How important is Casey Thompson right now in terms of stabilizing your quarterback room and as a mentor helping this young guy get ready to play?
He's been fantastic. He's been there, done that. He started, a gazillion games, played a lot of ball, been in a lot of meeting rooms, seen a lot of that kind of stuff happen. And so he's got tremendous wisdom. He's mature beyond his years. He's going to be a coach. He'll be a fantastic coach. He's kind of a coach now. And but he's been wonderful. He's very intentional constantly about using the gifts that he has to make people around him better. And I love that. He's just very ambitious, and he's a giver. And those guys would probably testify to that. That he's a solution-based kind of guy, but he's a great supporter of his teammates. Maybe we're at Skelly, and he's standing right next to me, and we watch the throw, I'm like, man, you should have done. And he was like, well, he was kind of thinking, he's defending him, or maybe afterwards he's like, man, you be all right, man. Next rack, next play, something like that. So he's just very thoughtful, and you can't have enough guys like that. And so we have a great appreciation for Casey.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. You got it.